It's some 24 minutes to the top of the hour. Thank you for joining us here on Joy News. It's time for the news review, and I'll be introducing my guest to you shortly. But before we get into that, yesterday I was listening to another story of a young man, not even 40, who has prostate-related issues. I keep saying it, you don't want to get there. You don't want to be there and realize, oh, I've become a statistic. And that is why you ought to get yourself checked. If you're a woman, maybe there are things going on as far as your fertility is concerned, and you think, oh, I'm not seeing any signs, so everything is A-okay, only to find out someday, maybe when you're trying to give birth, that there have been many issues. Don't wait. Don't fall victim. Make your way to Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, and they are offering you screening services for prostate issues and fertility issues in women for free. So why not take advantage of it? You can locate them here in Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. There's Kumasi Kronoma here behind the Angel Educational Complex. Takrady Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Isiama Nzema. If you'd like to reach them on phone, which I seriously proffer you do, the lines are 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease, but just the start of the newspaper review. Joining me, my senior man, former president of the Ghana Journalists Association, Akufo-Addo. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming.
It's a pleasure.
It's always beautiful, this part of my week, when you come into the studio.
Thank you.
I love it. And you know, the feel is different when you are virtually connecting with us and when you're here.
So person-to-person contact is.
Yeah. And who has been sewing your clothes, though?
A young guy in our church, Assemblies of God, End Time.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, he's doing a marvelous job.
Thank you so much for the compliment.
What's his name? Or do you know the name of his...
His nickname is Oman.
Oman. At least we give a few shouts to
Sure.
Oman for doing a good job.
Yeah.
So right before we get into the papers, two issues I want you to look at. We spoke about the UTV incident. Not too soon after that, the political parties, in fact, another political party.
Another political party.
And it's interesting. It's NDC, MPP. All that. Well, they are the biggest parties. But
Sure.
that one too decided to show us Pepe. And then we had that female, journalist at City FM, City TV, assaulted. That's one. Then yesterday, you are much more of a senior citizen than I am. Some of us look up to people like you. Correct me if I'm wrong. When a president is reading the oath of allegiance to all of us, swearing in, I hear things like, and I'll be this and that to all manner of people and all of that. So yesterday, when I heard Mr. President, in the Volta region talking about if I were to pay attention to votes and stuff like that, I shouldn't even be here because, you people don't vote for me. And the way his references, Tugby, and you, and I found it disrespectful. I found it not dignified of the people, especially when the people are already crushed. Traumatized.
Yeah.
And the seed of politics germinated there. This is me. I don't know what you think on those two issues.
The president did caution against politicization of the whole disaster, but he came across as someone who's rather doing politics. That's how I saw it, because he said people in the area do not vote for him, and so in essence, I'm still wondering what informed the decision to raise this issue of people in the area, who are against his party and all that. I think he should have gone straight to announcing the relief measures he had for the people in that area instead of referring to politics. Maybe he said it in a joke just to serve as an icebreaker. But
did he?
Came across.
He went on to re-echo that someday they would vote for him and his party.
Yes.
I felt it was just out of, and sometimes I ask myself, really, do people script these things for him, or does he say them off the cuff? Because honestly, the number of people who reached out to me yesterday expressing angst at those words, and I could understand them. Because, so I actually, honestly, when people reached out to me at first, I hadn't, I had a long day yesterday. I hadn't taken a look at it. And I told them, oh, I doubt he said that. I'm sure it's... Then I went, so I came on our group page, followed, and then watched the video, and listened to the audio, and I was aghast. I was really, wow.
So I also listened with all consumer attention and tried to square the tone of the message and the substance of the message. So I came to the conclusion that the president shouldn't have raised the political issues. We all know that voter regime is predominantly NDC. And as I said, the truth of the matter is not enough justification for saying it, even though it is true. What's the point in saying it and at that time?
And the City FM incident, the journalist?
NDC, many people have come to the conclusion. In fact, what happened at the NDC Greater Accra Regional incident has reinforced the perception that NDC and MPP are the same. This is the inevitable conclusion.
This one happened just a few days after we had been condemning. And the NDC had condemned the UTV Act.
NDC had condemned.
Can you imagine that?
Interesting.
In this instance, of course, the NDC also came out to condemn this. But you can't tell me that you're condemning something and someone else is doing the same thing within your party.
Interesting. So fate has a way of exposing the two parties. So we have a long way to go in punishing the perpetrators of attacks against journalists in their line of duty. And I also listened with disbelief the fines imposed on the thugs who invaded UTV.
Oh, the 2,400 or so.
1,000.
One person within the party will pay for them all.
Certainly, yes.
Like you're going to say, a slap on the wrist.
A slap on the wrist. So the hearts of evangelists of press freedom and apostles of democracy are bleeding profusely from what the court did. It again reinforces the perception that we are not serious in dealing surgically with this issue of attacks against journalists. And it's a democracy which suffers at the end of it all. The media is ingrained in theory and rooted in practice that democracy is impossible without the media. And the Ghanaian media, whether you like it or not, are the oxygen of our democracy. So if our democracy strikes cause of appreciation worldwide, it's because the media have brought it this far. And then why do you turn your guns on the very people who get our democracy taken, and then ensuring that all others enjoy their fundamental human right? So an attack against journalists is not only an attack against the media, but also an attack against the very soul of this nation. So as we speak, the soul of this nation is still bleeding from the attacks perpetrated by the thugs who invaded UTV. So we are also watching. what to pan out of the thugs who invaded the NDC primaries at the party headquarters. The courts should come out, should show that they are also concerned, deeply concerned about attacks against it. I believe if the attacks had happened to lawyers or judges, the fines would have been different. So we expect any perpetrator of attack against journalists to be punished within the fullest extent possible under the ambit of the law.
Well, we are where we are. They would say the fourth estate, the bastion of our democracy and all of that, and then end up beating us. We have numerous examples within, right here. People who have been beaten, traumatized, people who have been beaten, now have Latif Idrisu, my other colleague, Emmanuel Ante. You know, it's, and And then we complain when our press freedom rankings dip.
Yeah.
Anyway.
As for
And
next.
it's going to continue dipping.
Yeah.
With all of this,
Yeah,
it will continue dipping.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get into the papers. I have the Daily Graphic, the Finder newspaper, and the Economy Times. What do you have?
The disaster.
Ghanaian Times?
Yeah, Ghanaian Times.
I see the Daily Guide as well.
Yeah, Ghanaian Times. Daily Guide.
The New Crusading Guide.
New Crusading Guide.
Okay, so where are you starting from?
Of course, the story of the moment, the disaster in part of the Volta and Eastern regions. Certainly a catastrophe of unprecedented proportions. And we are told that 26,000 people have been displaced. NADBO has done everything within its capacity to settle a number of them.
With all its logistical constraints.
Yes, but we are told that as many as 20,000 are still yet to be.
6,000 have found somewhere to settle, but 20,000, that's like a drop in a bucket. That's like another 4 times the number.
4 times the number. And the president visited it, and as you said, he was in a limelight of the media, but he fell short of declaring a state of emergency, which has been a clarion call of so many people, including MP for Nongtong, Okujeto Ablakwa. I believe the declaration of a state of emergency would have given the states.
Because then that triggers certain other actions and possibilities. But we are told that the Inter-Ministerial Committee will not end at distributing food items to the victims, but they will take a long look at how best to settle people in the low-lying areas so that the disaster will not visit them in the future. But we will watch and pray. We expect the media to keep this issue on the front burner and ensure and push officialdom to match their promises with action, nothing but action. And we also told that the nation has saved as much as 36 million cedis over after payroll audits. And this was the Ghanaian Times has headlined this on the front page. And yesterday, Sami Jemfi of NDC was as strident as ever in tearing to pieces the defense by the Attorney General on the illegal mining report by Professor Frimpong Boateng. What do you think of it? Mention was made of Donald Ensua and certain things, and whether even if the substance wasn't enough to trigger certain court actions, whether the response of it's empty, it's nothing useful, and all of that was the way to go in a country that supposedly is fighting Galamsey. What is your take?
I'm inclined to believe that political interest in this instance has overshadowed the need for justice. And anti-corruption agencies, activists will not be satisfied by the act of clearance, so to speak, by the Attorney General. And this again reinforces the perception that we are not serious in fighting corruption and fighting Galamsey. The fight against Galamsey is far from being won. We have a very long way to win the fight against Galamsey, because we tackle it from the branch and not the root. And the root approach will entail dealing with the financiers, dealing with well-known people who invade forest areas, desecrate, feed fats on national resources, and then go scot-free because of their political leanings. So the
same way those who assaulted the UTV staff are getting a slap on the wrist. It's the same story.
Yeah, it's so disgraceful. So disgraceful. They're so disgraceful that no.
So what we are telling them is, you know what? You can do Galamsey once you're a party member. There are ways of going about it. Or if you want to go and assault any journalists and all of that, batter them, do whatever. I don't know, maybe we're waiting for someone to lose some teeth or something, or worse, get maimed before we do something.
Price. Ahmed Swale died, and 4 years on, no one has been charged, let alone prosecuted.
It's a disgrace.
On 2 occasions, His Excellency the President said emphatically that the killers of Ahmed Swale would be found. We were told some time ago by the police that 8 people had been arrested in connection with Ahmed Swale's murder, but nobody had been prosecuted. And again, this also is featured every year in the Rare Press Freedom Index report. And so we shouldn't be surprised if once again, precipitately we decline on the league table of press free media systems in the world. And I don't know what should be done to unearth the killers of Ahmed Swale. We met the IGP about 2 years ago, and he did promise that, but he said a new unit had been created to tackle some of these unresolved issues. And 2 years down the line, nothing has happened. So again, we expect the media, an attack against one journalist is an attack against all journalists. So as you see, we are under siege, and we have weapons to fight back. So we expect the media to mobilize and then fight back the attacks against our perceived enemies, real and perceived enemies.
Anyway, any other stories you'd like to look at in there before I get into the daily graphic?
VRA assuring flood victims, and good news for Cecilia Japa. The other day she claimed that she was suffering from lack of funds deficiency. And OSP has rallied to her aid by defreezing 3 of her accounts. We have 5 of her accounts, where 3 are still under suspicion. So we'll see what will pan out. And Crusading Guide, MPP tags and a convicted fine for, again, this laughable court ruling. And so these are the main stories we have on the front pages of Daily Guide, Crusading Guide, and Bagbe News, Ghanaian Times.
All right. Anyway, so let's get into the Daily Graphic newspaper. Budget won't increase public spending, that's according to Ken Ofori-Atta. Nation hosts First Africa Cinema Summit in November. Dammed spillage, 26,000 displaced. President pledges relief support. And Utah calls for overhaul of accreditation regime. Kicks against 5 new universities. And there's Payroll monitoring saves nation over 190 million Ghana cedis. 17 institutions in Accra waste 36.11 million in 5 months. So let's get into some of the details. We've spoken about the situation in the Volta region and the president's infamous comments. We'll leave it there. But let's get into bits about the economy and education. So I'll focus on pages 13 and 16. Budget won't increase public spending, okay? That's according to Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. The government has given an assurance that it will restrict itself to budgeted expenditure, irrespective of 2024 being an electoral year. The Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, gave the assurance at a meeting in London yesterday with holders of Ghana's international bonds, said in spite of 2024 being an election year, or electoral year, the government would stay within the IMF-supported budget, which would be presented to Parliament later next month. 4 months after implementing the post-COVID-19 program for economic growth, backed IMF program, Ghana's economy is beginning to see some stability, with GDP growth averaging 3.1% in the first half of the year. Inflation, which reached a 22-year high of 54.1% in December 2022, has also declined to a 12-month low of 38.1% in September. These are the metrics that are used to measure, at least, whether there is progress. But the ordinary man will always tell you that if you go out there the price of fish, the price of kenke, the price of everything is still, that's the problem with allowing your economy to go bonkers, because when it does, prices never go down, really. So all these things that are being mentioned, macro level, they look good. But on the micro level, people are bleeding. I really don't see the difference, between when we're at 54.1% and now. The dollar may have slipped to 11 point something and be held constant from a high of about 16, 17. But still, the cost of getting anything in this country is absolutely inhibitive.
The fact is that our economy is still buffeted by cost of living crisis, bitterly bitter cost of living crisis. Even with IMF to our rescue, our economy is still on the ropes, and this is the reality. And as you said, as the mantra goes, forward ever, backward never, prices of goods and services, prices of basic goods and services do not come down, they always rise up. So, so this is not enough to bandy these figures, but what is important is the cost of living of the Ghanaian, and many Ghanaians are really under economic pressures. So we need to focus our attention, sharpen our focus on this crisis and not play to the gallery.
Well, let's get into some other stories. On that same page, payroll monitoring saves nation over 190 million Ghana cedis. And the public sector wage bill has seen a significant reduction since the commencement of the nationwide payroll monitoring exercise in April this year. The Fair Wages and Salaries Commission has stated. The CEO of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, Benjamin Arthur, at a press briefing in Accra yesterday, disclosed that data from the Comptroller and Accountant General's Department revealed that the total wage bill for just July and August reduced by 190 million Ghana cedis. He explained that the wage bill for July witnessed a 6% reduction over that of June, resulting in a cost saving of 178.36 million. Now, 17 institutions in Ghana wasted 36.11 million in just 5 months. How will a country like this ever make any progress? Look at this. You remember there was a time when, shockingly, the finance ministry, which is supposed to be the center of the citadel of responsible, financing processes and management, itself had people on the payroll who were taking, I think someone was taking almost 20,000, another person about 13,000, another person almost 10,000 for years. And these people didn't even work there.
And it's again, it reinforces the point that they themselves are not whiter than white, purer than pure. So, but workers, coming to looking at it from a broad perspective, workers are very aggressive in demanding what they do them. And some of these workers are the perpetrators of fraud against the state. And again, this is that no one is clean. We all falling short of the glory. And so whoever demands equity must come with clean hands. This is my synoptic.
Not the synoptic gospel, but your synoptic comments. Anyway, and then finally, the last story I'll do from the Daily Graphic. UTAG calls for overhaul of accreditation regime, kicks against 5 new universities. The University Teachers Association of Ghana has kicked against the decision by the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission to suspend the accreditation of new academic programs for public universities in the country. It has further criticized the intention of the government to establish 5 new universities, demanding that the funds be channeled into lecturer welfare and expansion of existing infrastructure, among others. I couldn't agree with them more. Why? We already have, for our population, we have a good set of public institutions, but a number of them are facing severe challenges. They are hemorrhaging, a number of them are quasi-independent, so they depend partly on government, they do their own things, they have IGFs and all of that. A lot of them, even the biggest ones, including the University of Ghana, are bleeding. Why not focus resources on making those ones even more world-class, even stronger, and they will naturally, because look at UG, UST, and the others, they pull along the smaller ones that are affiliated to them. So in a way, they will now bring those ones up to a certain level. We always like starting new things when even the old ones have not been given the necessary support. I agree with you, Tag, on this.
Yeah, sometimes we prioritize quantity over quality. So, but the reverse should be the case. Quality should always come come before quantity. In everything, quality first, and not quantity.
Well, let's get into your last paper. Oh, okay. So were you done with the daily guide? You started?
Yes, I did daily guide. We look at the laughable fines imposed on the tax we made, and then submission fees tearing apart of Attorney General's defense.
Okay.
And then payroll audit we've done, and then maybe we can contempt case, another interesting case.
Okay.
We are told a contempt case against EC will be held on November 24. Again, Watchers of Democracy and Human Rights and Press Human Rights are all ears and waiting to see what verdict will come from the court on the contempt case slapped on against the EC. EC officials claimed that they were all in the field, so there was somebody to receive the contempt summons.
Yeah.
And
they directed that their lawyer.
The lawyer and all that. And Jemensa, the EC chairperson, is a lawyer and law-abiding citizen. Many people disagree with her style, but I know she means well for the good people of Ghana, and I believe she will not dance. She will dance to the dictates of the law and not to do anything which will bring more discredit to the under pressure EC.
Well, we'll see how that goes. The final newspaper. For me, I've got to the point where for some things, it becomes even difficult as a citizen, because I keep looking at what other countries are doing. Even countries we like to compare ourselves to in Africa. I see what they're doing, and then I come here and I look at certain things. In recent times, I've been traveling quite a lot within the sub-region. And I keep asking myself, apart from a few things that you would see here, are we really that better? And sometimes I get afraid, and then I hear of the young people leaving in droves, and it just breaks my heart. It's such a departure. I've also been reading some books recently by the Osajifo. And when I contemplate his dream, his vision, and then I look at where we are, it breaks my heart.
Osajifo, even in death, is the greatest gift, political gift the Almighty God gave to the people of Ghana, even though he was rejected like Jesus Christ. Yeah. But with the confluence of time, he's proven that he can't face. There's a vast difference between him.
He is definitely primus inter pares.
Yes, certainly yes. Certainly yes. Certainly yes.
Let's get into the final newspaper. 2024 budget should scrap 3 taxes, reduce import duties. That's according to FABAG. There's also 16 UTV studio invaders fined 2,400 Ghana cedis. Sign bonds of good behavior. Bravo, government. Bravo.
The sentence continue to strike cause of laughter.
Yeah. No, this is a show of great, this is a great show of I don't even know. This is a great show of will to deal with the situation and ensure that the media has a voice and is protected by the president, who is always touting the rule of law. This is such a wonderful sign. Mr. President, bravo. Bravo to you. 2,400 Ghana cedis. And then a sign bonds of
the sentence will occupy an ignoble place in history as one of the most laughable verdicts ever pronounced by the court.
Congratulations, Mr. President. Congratulations, Judiciary. You've done a fantastic job. You've done a great service to the Republic of Ghana.
Service.
They've done a great service to the Republic of Ghana. Of course, what you sow is what you reap.
We pray that you don't reap.
Government can save 36.1 million Ghana cedis in terms of compensation of 17 educational institutions. That's the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. President sympathizes with flood victims. And let me look at the story on page 11, because we've done most of the other stories. And so the CEO of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, Benjamin Arthur, has said that government has the potential of saving the national coffers about 1.2% of its expenses from the payrolls of 17 institutions in the educational sector. He said a monitoring exercise carried out by the group on these 17 institutions showed that government could save some 36.1 million if it took measures to correct certain identified anomalies. It ties into the other story I read, but it also tells you about the things we could do proactively rather than reactively to ensure that, I always say that even with the Auditor General's reports and all of that, with our system in the country, it's after the fact, when the thing has been perpetrated, done. Usually, why don't we have mechanisms in place to stop the thing from happening, or even in the process of happening?
Year after year.
Do you remember the backlog and how now they are even trying to catch up? Because it's always retrospective. It is never, on the point of when the thing is being done. So we'll always keep reporting, oh, this person has done this, and then we don't need to jail people. We need the money to run the country.
Yeah, we need the money.
Simple.
So what is chronically difficult for us as a nation to prevent certain things from happening? Other saying goes, an ounce of prevention is better
than a pound of 2024 budget to scrap 3 taxes, reduce import duties. FABAC says so. The Food and Beverage Association of Ghana has called on the government to remove 3 taxes and levies imposed on fruit juices and drinks. These are COVID-19 levy. I still can't think far while we're still paying the COVID-19 levy. From what I hear, we are the only country in the world still paying the COVID-19 levy. Another one to clap for this administration.
And we are
thank you for the COVID-19.
That levy has been spinning revenue for the nation to plug certain loopholes
in this economy and where the people are. So they cite the COVID-19 levy, the growth and sustainability tax, and the expanded excise tax. We have to go in just about 2 minutes. So I'll just read the headlines. Economy Times. Government projects higher GDP growth for 2023. I already brought you that story. Policy rate tightening to ease. That's with a recent drop in headline inflation by 200 basis points. And if you are on a loan in any bank or any financial facility, around this time, you would know that if there's something beyond hellish, you would have experienced that. Even people with fixed terms, surprisingly, have had their terms tweaked. And I'm like, wow. It's been crazy.
So if the economy is doing well, then it should reflect in the banking rate. It's as simple as that. And
Ghana's fiscal deficit to GDP to improve by more than half in 2023. Well, I think we'll have to draw the curtains here. Any final thoughts for us?
The landmark ruling by the court. We applaud the alacrity.
It has really touched your
certainly yes.
2,400 Ghana cedis each, and signing a bond. I fear for this country. We've become so politicized, and I'm saying this post the ruling, and anyone can take me on for whatever they think. You remember the incident where a judge was chased out of her court? Do you remember?
Yes, again.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, in Kumasi.
You remember where 7 youth were gunned down, killed in cold blood in the Ashanti region?
Sure.
And later we're talking about compensation for them. Impunity has become the order of the day.
And what about impunity? If it's not tackled from the root, then it ignites, a re-energizing cycle, which then becomes hellishly difficult to uproot. So
it is what it is.
Back to the laughable verdict from the court.
God bless our homeland Ghana and make her great
and strong.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
And that's how we cap off the news review this morning. This segment brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They're offering free prostate screening, free female fertility screening. Reach out to them at any of their branches. Here in Accra, they're at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. Kumasi, Kronoma here, behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrade Anaji Estate, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa and Esiamanzima. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. End Point Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Bringing us to the end of the news review and the start of sports up next.